Hi, friends, and welcome to the Dreamer and Doer podcast. I'm your host, Bree Johnson. I designed this space to be a place that we can discuss dreaming big despite the setbacks and fears that come with it. I invite you to come along this journey with me as we embrace our stories and share our journeys. So let's dream big together and get intentional about making it happen. Welcome back to the Dreamer and Doer podcast. My name is Bree Johnson and I am your host. I am so excited to be chatting with you today, and it's just me. I'm going to be addressing a question / comment that I get asked a ton, and so I thought I would share some of my tips and tricks with you today. So the question that I get asked the most often is, how do you do it all? And I'm like, whoa, first of all, I don't do it all, but I have figured out some things that do help me balance being a mom, but also a mom who is a business owner, who is also multi-passionate. I will first start off and say I am not perfect. A lot of these things are things that I have done to help us balance these things, but it's still a work in progress. And if you've heard me talk before, you know that I talk about seasons. And so sometimes there's a season for this and it works. And sometimes there are seasons where it doesn't work. For instance, the season that we moved and went through that whole process, it was a lot more difficult to maintain everything and to find that balance because we were in a really unique situation of moving and living with people, and not only just living with people, but one of our friends we were living with, she worked night shifts, and so she had to sleep during the day, and that was pretty difficult trying to get work done when, we had to watch the kids and get our work done during the day. I wanted to chat about a couple of things that I use to kind of maintain that balance, and it's really hard to find it. And I would say that a lot of times I don't find it, and it's just those are the times that I have to give myself grace and know that I tried my hardest, but sometimes it just doesn't work. You can never plan when a kid's going to get sick or something else happens. Like, we've had many circumstances where we were surprised with something out of the blue, and it just kind of threw a kink in the plan. And so that's the first thing. Throw out the plan. So it's good to plan, but you can almost always plan that it's not going to go the way you plan. But I still wanted to talk about the things that we use to implement into our family and our business that have really helped us find the balance to the best of our ability. First, I suggest to write out an ideal schedule for your week. And this will kind of go into the other things. And so not just an ideal schedule for the week, but even a month. So for me, my ideal schedule looks like waking up early. Ideally, I would wake up at 5, but that has never happened except for like one period in my life of 2 weeks. And then I was quickly over it. So right now we try to get up about 6 a.m. before the kids get up and get a start on our day. After that, the kids get up at 8. We do have a rule in our house that they must stay in their rooms until 8. And you may be wondering how we do that. And we're pretty much the best parents ever. They just do it. Just kidding. It's a battle. It doesn't always make it. They don't always make it till 8, but we really try to keep them in their room till 8. We talk to them. We say, hey, it's almost time to get up, but you need to stay in your room. And as time goes on, they get used to knowing that, okay, mom and dad are up, but we have to stay here, and they find things to play with in the room and they're entertained. And that seriously helps a ton because a lot of time in that morning block, for me, it looks like reading my Bible. I spend some time in the Word. I drink coffee, and I do a quick pickup of the house just so things are clean to get our day started. And then I sit down and plan what our day is going to look like. Plan out all the things that need to be done for work, who's going where, all those sorts of things. And I think it's such a little thing to do. And you're like, oh yeah, I know all the things I need to do. It's okay. But I have noticed such a huge difference in the amount of things I get done when I make that to-do list. Seeing that to-do list out in front of me really helps me visualize what all needs to happen and prioritize those things. So that is going to lead me into the first tool, like a practical tool that I use to organize our lives. And that is my favorite website, Trello.com. I heard about it from another favorite podcaster. Her name's Ali Casaza, and I started using it and I just fell in love. Like my brain works in a way that loves lists. Like I love to make lists. I'm not a great like some people have these really elaborate planners and I'm not good at keeping up with those sorts of things, but I probably make hundreds of lists a week. My brain works in that way of like writing out lists, but then I need a way to organize it. So for me, Trello has been a great spot for me to maintain all my lists. It's Trello.com, Trello. And there's a learning curve to it, and you kind of just have to set it up in a way that works for you. I've looked at other people's boards and their lists, and there's that learning curve of vocabulary for everything. So the words you're going to see when you pull up this website are boards and cards. So when you pull up Trello.com, you're going to be like, where do I go first? The first thing you're going to want to do is start a board. So I have mine pulled up right now as I do this podcast with you. I'm going to try and walk you through it. So let's use my week. So I have a board called My Week, and I have the week laid out ahead of me. And then you're going to have lists. And so the way mine is set up, I have a label guide. So I have different colored labels and what they are. For instance, I have work block, home, salt and light, kids, workout, meals and self-care, those sorts of things to help me guide my week and figure out how I can organize those things. And those are all set up on cards. So think of it like having an index card and you write on the front of the card the label. So I'm just going to pick out one and we'll use my work block because I'll be talking about that here in a little bit. So I take that work time block. It's labeled yellow. And so now I know as I look at my week, anything labeled yellow is going to be my work time block. So then my next little list that I have is my general to-do list. And so I have the 3 biggest things that we have per week. And that's things regarding Salt and Light Trading Company, the kids, and meetings. Then the rest of my list are the days, Monday through Sunday. And then as you go into this, you're creating cards underneath your list. So I'm just going to point out my Monday list. It has wake up 6 o'clock, get ready for day. I even include my breakfast because if I don't include these things, like I will forget to do them. And that's just because life is so crazy and I need to write out these things and know when they're going to happen. For instance, working out, like if I just say I'm going to work out, it's probably not going to happen. So the day before I sit down, look at my day and say, okay, I think I could fit in working out after breakfast, or tomorrow I really do need to get up early and get my workout in before the kids wake up. You know, we do have the flexibility right now because Kendall and I are both working from home and working on this business. And I'm sure you're listening to it and you're thinking, that is so awesome. But I will tell you that it comes with its struggles and challenges of its own. No one prepared me for what it would be like to be married to your business partner. And it's really hard. And I would love to do a podcast about it one day and things that have helped us. But we're really honestly still in the middle of all that and trying to figure it out. I've always wanted to keep, transparency and honesty. And I think that's something people need to know as they're starting businesses and making it a goal to be at home with your family. It's a hard balance because especially if you're owning a business, you can get so focused on that and that need that it creates another dynamic to the relationship to figure out. So that's all I will say about that subject today. And we'll head back to Trello. So Trello, you're going to be setting this up. This is my week and where I set up my ideal week. And then I have my work time block. I have when we're doing lunch. I have what the kids are doing that day. I will attach images of this in the show notes so that you can see what they look like. And even if you email me after this podcast, after you listen, you're interested in learning more about Trello, I will add you to one of my boards, and then you can really see what's inside my mind. It might be a little confusing, but I've added a couple different people to my boards, and it's also helped them. So here's the cool thing about Trello is that you have these cards, and on the front, you have what it is. So let's say I pull up, we'll do an easy one. Breakfast, 8 a.m., eggs, spinach, and salsa. Easy enough, right? Then I click on that card, and if I wanted to, I could add a description. So if this would have been a more complicated recipe, I could have added the recipe in the description, and then you could attach an image to it. You can add people to your board. Like Kendall is on these boards with me, and so if there's something that I need him to do, I just comment, and then he can get that. Anyway, it's been super, super helpful for our family and getting a good visual of what our days, our weeks, our years need to look like. I have a board for my year, I have a board for the month, and I have a board for each week. So this is just a tool that you can utilize to help organize your time. And I will tell people about this Trello list, and they're like, oh my gosh, you are so organized. I wish I was like that. I'm like, yeah, you don't understand. I'm not. This does not come naturally for me. It's something that I have to sit down and force myself to do. And then it can swing to the other side where I get so obsessed with, planning and organizing it that I don't actually do it. But now I feel like I'm in a pretty good flow where I have it all set up that it easily flows. I pretty much copy each week and go through and edit it and add things that I need that I might not have needed the week before or that I don't need anymore. And so that's been helpful in organizing our time. So that leads me into the second thing that I find useful in working from home and being a mom from home. And that is using time blocks and routines. And like I said, these things do not come naturally for me. In fact, they're really hard because I am such a fly by the seat of my pants. I'm spontaneous. I could get a phone call to do something. I'm like, okay, cool. I think I can fit it in. I'm super optimistic. And a huge thing that I've had to learn is saying no and treating my business like a job, because it is a job. And so I can't always, even though I have the freedom to work from home, I also need to know when I can give my yes away and when I can't. And so using time blocks has been a really efficient way for us to maintain a work and home balance. And a time block is just setting aside of time per day that you are going to be working on your business. And so this has granted me the ability to be a mom and a business owner. And so for me, my work blocks usually fall when the kids are sleeping. Also, like I said, we do have the luxury that both of us are home right now. And so we take turns having full work days. And so the kids go to school 2 days a week. And then on those 2 days we work together, or, we do things that we might not be able to do with the kids, like record a podcast or a video, those sorts of things, because those are much easier to do when they're not home because, background noise. And then on the days they're not at school, Kendall has one day to work where I'm watching the kids, and then I have a work day and he's watching the kids. And so for me, that looks like leaving the house and going to work at a coffee shop. Just because if I'm home, like our house, I love the size of the house, but my kids know I'm home. So there's no hiding out from them. So if I'm at home, they're going to most definitely want me, ask me to get them whatever it is that they need. And sometimes I don't always go to a coffee shop. I'll just lock myself in our room, and that helps. But for me personally, it really helps to get out of the house and be in an environment where there's people, because I am a people person and I kind of thrive off that when I'm working. And so while I'm not talking to people, just being around people helps me stay focused and work better. And I don't know if it's like a mom wife thing. If I'm at home, I feel like I have to be cleaning or picking up. I don't know. I just could easily find busy work at home instead of working on the things that I needed to get done for my business. And so using these time blocks has been really useful. And so on the days that I might not have my full work day, I work in these time blocks. And so that looks like working before the kids wake up from about 6 to 8 a.m. and then working during their naps, which is about 1 to 4, and then working when they go to bed. So from about 7:30 to 10:30, we're getting it in and last work block of the day. And so when you look at that, we're still working almost 8 hours a day, but we're still at home with the kids. We are getting a substantial amount of work done, but we're at home. And those can vary and look different. Ideally, the kids would sleep from 1 to 4 and we'd work from 1 to 4, but that doesn't always happen. And so whatever we don't finish in that time block is saved for the later time block. But using that time makes us really focus. And a goal of mine is to put my phone up during those hours, which isn't always easy because a huge part of my job is being on social media and using my phone to either update my website or take pictures, that sort of thing. But yeah, phones can be so tricky. They can be so distracting. And anyway, so my goal, put the phone away, work. 3, prioritizing family time. I think this is huge when it comes to working from home or just working in general. I believe that God cares about families and that when we prioritize our family, He will bless that and honor it. So the goal is every Friday, maybe it might not happen on Friday, but at least once a week, we have family day. And that means neither of us are working and we're spending time with the kids and we go do something fun. And we usually cook breakfast together and really involve the kids with everything we're doing and then go on a fun adventure. We also vlog. And so that's kind of our day to do a little bit of filming and really spend time together as a family. And it's super fun now because we live in a new city. And so we're always discovering new things together. And thankfully, where we live, other places are really accessible. And so we can easily get to another city in just an hour and a half. We haven't gone quite that far yet, but that's because we're still exploring things here. And I highly suggest anyone who is trying to balance the work and home, take that family day. Give yourself a day off and go spend time with your family. It will be worth it. And something I didn't touch on with the work blocks is that in the mornings, if I'm not working, I really tried not to be on my phone and just spend time with the kids. And maybe that looks like going to run errands at the store together. Anyway, so in addition with family time, I also try to carve out once a month, at least. Ideally, this would be once a week. But a date with Kendall where just him and I are able to go do something together. And then trying to carve out time once a week for each of us to spend one-on-one time with the kids. Now, we only have 2 kids, so it's a little bit easier to do that than say if we had 3, 4, 5 kids or more. That would be a little bit more difficult. And I say carve out time to spend with them, but kids don't expect you to do extravagant things with them every time you spend one-on-one time with them. And so for us, it just looks like Mila comes to the grocery store with me, and that's her special treat is going to the store with mom, while Ezra hangs out with Popeye and they do some sort of errand or chore at home. And I think our kids really appreciate that one-on-one time. And those are just simple things to incorporate into your daily routines or your weekly routines, is just saying, make sure they're each getting a little bit of that one-on-one time. So the reason we chose Friday is because we try to have vendor events on Saturday, and Saturday does tend to be some family time too, depending on what's going on, because we've had lots of visitors. But, we will work more if we don't have a vendor event, because for me, I do better not having 2 days off because it's hard to get back in the routine. So I try and space out those days that are off. So instead of having a Saturday, Sunday weekend, we take off Friday and Sunday. Number 4, these could easily be 2 different things, but I put them in one, and we're going to call them the 2 M's: meal planning and minimizing. And those 2 things have been extremely helpful for me because I realize I cannot thrive in chaos. And I was not thriving in a home that was constantly messy and where I was constantly having to pick up things. And so for the past year, we have been on a journey of just minimizing, getting rid of things we don't need. Yeah, which was interesting when we moved into house and then we hardly had anything to put in it. But it's been really nice because I can pick up the kids' room in 10 minutes. They're each allowed just a couple toys. The rest are put up, and then those are on a rotation basis. But everything they have in their room is like purposeful. Like we really try to ask for experiences instead of things for birthdays. So for instance, the reason we can do a family adventure every Friday is because we got a zoo membership for Mila's birthday instead of a toy, and that's been such a blessing to our family to be able to spend that time together at the zoo. We probably go every other week, so it's already paid for itself. And minimizing just, I feel like, brings a sense of peace and calm into our home. And it's not perfect, and it's probably not what you think minimalism should be, but it's ours and it works. We're finding ourselves being able to do the things we love more than the things we don't. So back to the Trello and the work blocks, I do have like a 4 o'clock time slot carved out every day where I try to do a quick chore and like a quick cleanup. But lately, my routine has kind of been like picking up in the morning because I've just been so tired at night. And so these things you have to understand are always changing and shifting, and what works for me and my family might not work for you. So I'm giving you tools that you could incorporate into your family and figure out what types of routines would work for your family. And just be open, like just try something, see if it works. Like if what you're doing right now isn't working, change it up, experiment. See if adding more routine to your family would work. I was super anti-routine. I was like, I will never have a routine. And now we have one and it works great for our family and really keeps everyone happy. And I don't think I realized how beneficial a routine was for kids, but for our kids, it's been super beneficial to them to have a certain time. Like they know this is when we eat lunch. This is when they get a snack. This is when we go play outside. This is when we take a nap. For them, knowing those things are happening, I think it honestly minimizes the arguments and the fits that are thrown because they know what to expect. And we're not just changing up everything every day. They have an idea, and Ezra is even getting old enough now to know like when school days are and when it's church without us even having to tell him, because he's getting in this rhythm of like school, then Popeye works, school, then mommy works, family day, mom goes to work because I'm usually at a vendor event, and then we go to church, and that repeats the next week. And so he now even has the ability to know what's happening. And I think that really helps toddlers to just have that idea. And we all know toddlers are unpredictable and always changing. But I think that structure and routine, I'm really starting to see the difference that makes rather than just flying by the seat of our pants every day. So in addition to minimizing and the routine, meal planning has been really beneficial to our family. And I also use Trello to meal plan. So the options with Trello are endless. You can upload attachments and websites, and I do all my meal planning and grocery lists there. Like I said, if you want to be added to those boards to see how I do it, you're more than welcome to email me and I will add you to those. And so on Sundays, I really try and stay up after the kids go to bed and make our meals for the week. And I keep it simple. Keeping it simple saves money. And so just kind of alternating weeks. Like I can't always eat the same thing, but typically we only cook 3 different meals a week. So even though there's 7 days in a week, I only plan 3 dinners, and that's for several reasons. There's always leftovers because there's only 4 of us. We might have life group with our church or something else might pop up. And so we don't need to plan a meal for every single night. And honestly, I love brunch. So the days that we don't have something and we're out of food, then we typically just have eggs or pancakes or that sort of thing. And then number 5 is rest and self-care. And now I know self-care has been talked about a lot and you're probably tired of hearing it. But for me, what self-care means is just taking some time for me to refresh and be inspired. And that's in 2 different ways. One, I do self-care every morning when I spend time in the Word and listening to my worship music. That is that's more than self-care, that's soul care. And then self-care. So Thursdays are my day to work. And I also try to carve out some self-care time in the evening. And so it looks different. It might look like a bath or painting my nails, that sort of thing. It doesn't always happen on Thursday, but once a week, I just try to do something that makes me feel like me. And a lot of times it's going to get coffee with a girlfriend, that sort of thing. Because of my personality and I love people, I love getting to hang out with people. So I intentionally try and carve out time to spend with either friends or other women entrepreneurs. And those sorts of things really inspire me and keep me motivated to keep working on my business or to just refresh my spirit and my heart. I need those things to keep going. And then in addition to that rest, on Sundays, we don't work. We go to church, we hang out, we eat. Ideally, I'd like to not be like planning the week or meal planning on Sunday, but right now we just have to, and that's a season and it works right now. And meal planning is something I like to do. And so Mila and I will go to the grocery store every Sunday, and then I'll come home and cook our meals for the week. But rest and self-care, it's something that you have to include into the work and home balance because it can be so easy to be overwhelmed or to experience burnout. And I think by making yourself rest and taking time for self-care in a way, putting boundaries up for yourself, knowing yourself well enough to say, hey, I am overwhelmed. I'm tired. I need to take a step back and do this for me. I need to go have coffee by myself for like an hour, or I just let me take a bath and watch a show. Little things like that. Like it doesn't have to be a lot, and self-care doesn't have to be expensive. But the best thing you can do is to refresh your soul. So for me, that looks like driving in the car and listening to worship music or turning it on here at the house, or just taking a couple minutes of quiet. And right now my self-care also looks like working out every day, and making time for that because I feel so much better when I work out. I have so much more energy to get things done. So yeah, even just telling you about all the things we do is kind of making me tired, but don't let it be overwhelming because it doesn't have to be. When you kind of start to settle into these routines and rhythms, it actually helps everything go a lot more smooth. You don't feel like you're scrambling every day to make sure you have it all together, but making time to sit out, at the beginning of the week and plan out your week, and then sit at the end of the day and plan out your next day. They're just those little things that have a domino effect that help propel you forward. Anyway, I think I'll wrap it up there because I feel like that was a lot of information in just one little podcast episode, but I really hope that it helped you in some way. And if you have any questions, you're always more than welcome to reach out to me via Instagram or on my email, and I'll put that information in the show notes for you. I would love to answer any questions in a live video after this is posted. So if you can get questions to me after you listen, then I will do a little follow-up live video on Instagram. As always, it is super beneficial to this podcast when you subscribe and leave a review because it helps us be put in a more visible eye on iTunes. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I felt a little all over the place, and this was my first podcast just talking by myself and not interviewing anyone. So I hope you liked it. Let me know if there's another subject that you want me to chat about, and I'll see what I can do. Thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to see you back here next week.